Hi and welcome back to another episode from Doing Outdoors. I'm Benj, and today we're going to give you an in-depth tour of the land we've got. Up to now we've been putting videos out but not giving you much of a background on myself or what this piece of ground is that we've got. So today we're going to enlighten you all, show you exactly what we've got to play with and tell you a little bit about what we hope to achieve here and how we're going to go about it. And I'm not up the field on my own. I've come with a helping hand or helping hands. We've got Charlie here and Belle.
Hello.
Charles trying to make a spear for Belle. And what are you doing, Belle?
I'm standing here watching him.
And she's standing here watching him. So let's have a look at the woods that we've got to play with. There's 5.5 acres of woodland here. The majority of the trees within the wood are ash, which is good because ash burns really well. It's a good material to build from. It's very strong wood. But unfortunately in the UK we're suffering badly from ash dieback. And one of the things I wanted to do with this wood, or a portion of it, was to coppice it. So we've got a regenerative form of firewood and material that we can use. But with the concern of ash dieback ever present, I might have to rethink on my idea. I am actually going to cut half a dozen of these trees down and just monitor their growth to see if they do come back successfully or if there are any problems with the ash dieback. We have had a number of trees fallen down or have already fallen down within the wood, and I'm assuming it is because of ash dieback, but I'm not too familiar with the symptoms, so I'm not 100% sure. One thing that I am going to do in the very near future is plant an orchard, not just with fruit trees but with various nut trees, walnut. I'm going to try almond. I'm not expecting them to do much, but I'm going to give it a go. We're going to put 2 species of walnut in. The English walnut, or common walnut, and the black walnut. And I'm also going to put a load more hazel in. We do have 1 or 2 hazel stalls already in the wood, but we haven't seen any nuts off them. There's that many squirrels, they just rob everything way before it's ripe for us to take. What we've got coming through the wood on a daily basis are deer. So when I plant these trees, we need to put some protection around them to stop the deer from killing them off and eating all the new growth. And that goes for the same for any of these trees that I chop down to try and coppice. We'll have to protect them to stop the deer from browsing off all the new growth. Now if you look closely, you can just about make out a run, which is where the deer keep walking through this wood. Straight down here, and right by me you can see their footprints in the mud. And one of the clear signs are the droppings, unmistakable. Or what this woodland is made up of are quite young trees. I'd probably say the majority are about 30 years old, and they're growing very close together. And not having any experience in woodland management previously, I expect that I should thin these out to a couple of metres between each tree. There are some older specimens within this wood. Some probably run to 200 or 300 years old. Real big ash trees, a couple of big oak. It's a quite young wood, probably all self-set. There's no rhyme or reason to how the trees have grown, and if someone was to plant this themselves they'd have probably put them in lines. So I expect it's all self-set. There's a few leaning at a bad angle, probably need to get those cut out. Lots of hawthorn in here. In fact, there's a few elm as well. I've counted at least 24 elm within the wood. I've counted only 10 oak trees, multiple horse chestnut, few poplar, a bit of willow. But I suppose the main aim for this woodland is to keep it as it is, although coppice it if I can, and if I can get a solid fence put up round the wood, we'll probably move the pigs through here on a rotational system. I'm sure they'll do the ground a load of good, get rid of a lot of the brambles that are starting to take over the place. And what we have behind me is one of the more mysterious pieces on the land. It's quite a substantial brick and concrete building. Looks to me like it was probably built during the war, 1940s era. It's got a well in front of it. There are also a couple of remains of other buildings not far from here. Not very big ones, smaller than this, but of the same construction, red brick. And there's also a network for the drainage. There's a toilet in the back of this brick building, which goes into this manhole. Not quite sure where it drains off to, but I'm hoping to discover that. So I guess, like I've said before, the main aim of buying this piece of land is to become more self-sufficient with fuel, food, water, and hopefully one day we'll be able to put a shelter up here, somewhere to live. Although we are in the middle of the UK and the planning laws in the UK are quite strict. They don't allow people just to go and live in their own wood for whatever reason. But that's our hope anyway. Be able to live up here, farm up here, grow our own fuel. At least be around 80% self-sufficient. That'll be the plan. These are some of our more mature trees that we've got growing within this wood. That's a rather large ash, although I've been reliably informed that these growths on the side indicate that it is rotting. So I don't know if this can be saved or whether it's just going to have to come down. Just beside it there's another large ash. Behind that's a big oak. And we're now coming down towards the entrance of our land. The majority of our land is on a hill. When you enter it through the gate, you have to climb a steep hill, and then it all levels out up to the field at the top. Another thing I want to show you is the makeup of the road going up the hill. Another thing that indicates that there's been a lot of action on top of this hill. There's a load of old bricks that make up this road. Now looking at it, it would have taken a lot of time to get those installed, and just to lead you up to a bit of wood and a field doesn't seem worth it. Another thing that adds to the mystery of the place. And here we are, we're at the bottom of the hill, and this is the site of our second well. This one, like the other one, is still full of rubble, bricks and what have you, so we're going to have to drag all that out to see if this holds any water. The one at the top of the hill, the first few weeks when we completed on the purchase of this place, we spent digging that out in the hope that it would be full of water, or at least have some water, and it did for a couple of weeks, but then it dried out and it's been dry for the rest of the year. Not quite sure why it's dry, although it is on top of the hill. Probably not the place I'd dig a well if I chose to, but this one being at the bottom of the hill, I don't know how deep it is, but it's definitely the wettest corner of the property. So fingers crossed, when we get to the bottom of this, it'll hold water and keep water for most of the year. And it's from that well that we hope to get most of our drinking water and water to feed, well, water the animals. So I'm now in the corner of where I plan to plant quite a few trees, fruit trees and nut trees. And you might recognise the place from a previous video. It's where we've got the beehives set up. But this is the place. We've got to do a lot of clearing up of the brambles and all the weeds so we can get these trees planted. We've made a start. We've cleared quite a bit actually. But the hope is that I'll be able to squeeze about 80 trees in here. Probably about 30 fruit trees, and the rest will be nut. Sweet chestnut, walnut, hazel, and a couple of almond, just to see how they go. We'd also like to increase the number of beehives we have here. I'd like to get up to about 10 at some point. And then we get to the small piece of the field where the chicken tractor's been pushed around for the last 8 months, clearing the weeds. And you can see that the ground has been cleared off quite well. The grass is coming through really good. But it's in this area that we're going to make a market garden, grow our own veg. And you can see just behind me, there's a greenhouse there that's been dismantled. That's going to be erected soon, along with, hopefully, a few more. And this is where we're going to grow all our vegetables. Probably get some soft fruit in here as well. And now we move into the main field, which is about 6.5 acres. The small plot where I'm going to plant the trees and where the chicken tractor's been running, which is going to be our market garden. That's probably another acre, so that makes 7.5 acres of field. But it's in this main 6.5 acres where we plan to keep all our livestock. But the first thing we have to do is put a hard fence all around our boundary. There's next to nothing separating us from the next property. Out this way, the only thing that separates us is the remnants of an old hedge, which we're going to try and reinstate. And then behind me, the only thing that separates us from this property is the single post with a wire running across it. So once we've got a hard fence all the way round, we'll have sheep, potentially goats, maybe a cow. We'll see how it goes. But ultimately, like I keep saying, we want to be self-sufficient in all food. And one thing that we'd like to do is put a pond in. One, to encourage the wildlife, but two, it'd be a good place to keep ducks, geese and the sort. So what we've been doing is sitting on the land. We've been here nearly a year, waiting to see how it reacts to the different seasons. And what we've noticed is there's a low point right here, and you can see that now because it's puddling up. There's a lot of water on the ground, so that's telling me that this is a low point. and probably the best place to dig our pond. It's not got to be massive, probably about 1/4 of an acre, which is about the same size as what the pig's pen is at the minute. And I think that'll give us a big enough space. So a little bit about myself. I'm a late 30s, father of 3, work a full-time job as an electrician, and it's been a dream to have my own piece of land to do with what I like, but more importantly to do stuff on that land that's going to help sustain me and my family. So that's it from doing outdoors for this episode. Bye bye from Benj. It's bye bye from.
Bye bye!
And bye bye from.
Charlie.
We'll see you on the next one. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to subscribe.